What I did is I first cut out my cabin to give the airflow for the when I eventually put this on my cabin like that, we're going to have airflow coming up. Now you notice I did something a little different because I can't do it just like the directions. But basically they mounted their motor mount right on top. I decided I'm going to elevate my motor a little bit. Not sure if there's an advantage or disadvantage to that. Just something different. So I just built a couple mounts here out of the extra piece of styrofoam that they give you. If you want to do something like that, that's fine. Mounted my motor on there with my prongs so I could reach it, so I could still do my wiring. I did put my propeller on first because it's hard, and you want to make sure when you put this on that it lines up straight. Okay, very important. If it's crooked when it goes on your hovercraft, well, the hovercraft's going to go crooked. So make sure you get this straight, and that's about it. That was it for step putting the cabin and the cabin motor on. Now we're going to make the steering system and also the propeller guard. So I'm not really sure how I'm going to mount my propeller guard up that high, but that's going to be the next step, and I'll come back to it after that. Okay, I'm going to give you a big tip here, guys. Before I go any further, okay, I would make sure that I hook some wires onto these motors, okay, and onto, let me grab it, my onto my 9-volt I would actually do the wiring next before I went on, so it's not covered up. Now we don't actually have to solder it yet, but the first thing you want to do is you're going to get the wires the length that you need. You can use wire strippers like this. It looks like this is about 18 gauge wire. Basically what you do is just take this, put it into the second hole there, squeeze these pliers and pull it out, and that strips the wire so you can make a connection. So you're going to have to decide the length. Since I mounted mine a little bit higher, I might need a little bit more wire to go from this engine to this engine. But I'll do the wiring and then I'll explain it to you next. But it's a good thing to do this right now, at least to connect on the wires that you need. You might not be connecting everything, but let's get these connected. Okay, what I've done is my power pole is going to come to a power, just a battery clip. That battery clip, the one side will go to the engine, my lift engine. The next one will go to my propel engine, okay? Now, and then I'm going to connect my propel engine to my lift engine, and that's going to create a series. If you want to create a parallel circuit, you can too. The directions are in there. If you want to put a switch, I could have put a switch right here in this line. Very simple switch. Could have mounted it so I could shut my hovercraft off and on. I did not. I just connected those two wires. But now, if you notice, I will test my hovercraft, and there's a problem with it, because when I turn the power supply on, okay, my lift engine is pushing up, but actually my back engine here, okay, the wind's coming out, it's not pushing. So I have this circuit wrong. So what I'm going to do is just take this side and put it on that side of the engine, and it should correct the circuit, because it's flowing one way into this one and it's flowing another way here. I need to change that. Okay, so I'm going to do that right now, and let's see how that works. Okay, now what I did, instead of going up here, these were a little bit easier. I just switched these two. So if I turn my power pole on again and test it, this one here is pushing back, and this one's going the wrong way. I can change the polarity of both of them. Now you notice my hovercraft is actually hovering here. See it moving around? and the air is coming out here. So what I want to explain is with the power pole, I can change the polarity, okay? If we take a look, we can change the polarity with this switch right here. We can change both engines to go forward or backwards. But if one's going forward and one's going backwards, then you're going to have to switch the wiring here. So all I did was take the black wire, which was on the right, and I put it on the left. And then it synced both motors together. So make sure your hovercraft, your lift motor, is pushing down, and you'll see your tray float, and then the back one here. Now we know our wiring is good. Now I can begin to put it together, and I have my wiring, so it's going to be much easier to solder. Now that I have my wiring, I want to make sure, and this is really important, that that clip is turned and twisted the other way, because I'm going to take, if you notice, we have the large and the small clip. When I clip this on to actually run your hovercraft, you need the small end so it's sticking up front, the black end. This is the front of my hovercraft. Make sure you have the fan blowing out the back. And what I've done is I want to try to balance this as much as possible. So I've taken a dowel rod just put under here, and I've tried to move my cabin forward or backwards to try to get it as balanced as possible, okay? Because I don't want it too much weight in the front or too much weight in the back. Now if you followed the book exactly and you actually built the cabin the way they told you to, that's probably why they had you shift it up a little bit. And because, remember, the motor's hanging out back over. Well, mine's a little bit different design, so depending on your design, it really doesn't matter. What you want is you want it balanced. Okay? So once you get it balanced, then we can just simply take a hot glue gun, and we just want to take and just put a couple dots of glue just to secure that on there. We don't want to put the glue the whole way around. Remember, glue is weight. And if whatever glue you put here, make sure you put here, 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 because that will change the balance of your hovercraft as well. Right, my hovercraft is nearly finished. What I've done is created just a stable thing here for my cup. You can see I used a plastic cup. You can use the styrofoam cup if you like. And mounted, just put a little bracket under here just to keep that cup. The key is my blade has to turn, and if we come over here and I actually run the power pole, okay, turn that on, my hovercraft is going to lift and come towards me, so I know I have it hooked up right when I add some power to that. And nothing seems to be hitting. I don't hear anything, and that's critical also. Just when it's running nice and smooth. It's stable up here on top. I use styrofoam because it is light, and that's the key, and it seems pretty well balanced. Last thing, if you want to build a steering mechanism, this is very simple. I just took the white straw, and you can either use the dowel rod, okay, and attach that inside your cup, or if you want to take one of the red straws, it also goes in there, and we can attach that inside the cup somehow, however you figure out, and there's your steering mechanism there. If you want to put some pegs down inside that cup so you could decide which way you want to turn it, you know, that's an option there. So you can just take a piece of styrofoam and cut it out, or this is actually the top that I cut off my the styrofoam like sandwich bag or the sandwich holder. So it's up to you. You know, you can make a steering device if you want. And then the last step would be to solder, and we'll pick that up next time. I'll show you that next time.